who should be creating content in your mind? Is it business owners or is it everyone?
Everyone, because one of my main concepts with the podcast is that every person is unique, right? And everybody has a story to tell. Your life, your journey can change somebody's life by putting it out there, right? Your struggles, your successes, everything. So everybody should be putting out content.
Yeah.
Why? Because even, let's say, if you're a chef, if you're a cook, it's simple as the way that you cut your fruits and vegetables can inspire somebody like, oh, you know what, I cut it this way, or you know what, I learned how to cut it better because of this person. Next thing you know, it opens up different opportunities, right? You just never know. So no matter what you're doing, you should be sharing it with the world. I think it's a beautiful thing.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of How to Copy and Steal. My name is Chris. Today is a special episode. I have a special guest, someone that I just cold outreach to just because I saw him actively doing it and proving the concept. And We Love Everything shows here, and he's out there pushing a show, doing everything the right way, and not only doing it the right way, but he's continuing to improve and even like showing more assets of just like, hey, I should be doing stuff like that too. Today I am here with Angel Houseman from the Nomas podcast. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Houseman? Yeah, Angel Houseman. Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, by the way, I just want to say thank you for having me here. This is my first podcast that I am a guest. So this is completely different. Yeah. And like we were saying before the podcast, like I'm geeking out over everything that you have here. This is so freaking dope, man.
Thank you. I take pride in this. Honestly, I haven't been doing this for long. I did not go to school for this. This was all inspired by the pandemic.
So let me ask you this. Why podcast?
Podcast kind of chose us, to be honest. I started to just gather the equipment. Before this, I was doing product design. I was working in a tech company. Ideally, I wanted to just start like an agency, like a creative agency. Priscilla had a group of friends who had a podcast, and I was living in a loft downtown at that point. So I kind of wanted to help them record their podcast. So I started to get like the equipment. I think I started with the Rodecaster first. I got some Sony ZV-1s, like the point and shoot flip cameras. Okay. And then the day I downloaded Ecamm, like it was the day that I was playing with like OBS and Ecamm, I was just trying to see like how could I go live with them, because they wanted to take their podcast live. So I was just learning with them, doing everything for free. And the minute I like discovered Ecamm and I saw like, holy shit, I can trigger assets, I can do like presentations, I can, do whole segments, like give them their own little sports center. Yeah. The podcast was called Sports and Bullshit. And I kind of just was like, all right, this is it. You get me? Nice. And knowing myself from like a creative standpoint, coming from user experience design, like I knew like when you drill into one thing, you tend to stand out more because you're like pointing yourself around that one thing. So for us, it's live shows, video podcasts, just live content in general.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of like where I went. And like I just saw that I was able to create something that was like similar to what people would see on TV, but just at a smaller scale where it's just me. Right. You know what I mean? Most people look at these types of productions, see all the switching and things like that, and they think like, oh, I need a degree. I need to, if I need a show, if I'm going to start a show, I need someone to fund me. I need, the best of the best.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, wait, I can do this with Amazon basic tripods. And
right, exactly. And you know what? I'm a strong believer to that. And that's something that I like to preach a lot, right? That before the podcast, I was mentioning that my girlfriend behind the scenes, she's going to be taking pictures with the Canon T3i, right? Now, a lot of photographers would want to have the latest and greatest, right? But the thing is that, especially now with the software, you can literally take footage from the Canon and you can upload it and have AI enhance it. And now you have good pictures that you can release for your guests, for whoever you're shooting for. And that's actually what I'm doing right now, implementing that for my studio, for my own content, that we're literally sticking to the Canon T3i. And using what we currently have to produce all these different, I guess, types of content and just have put the story out there more than anything, right? Because if you get too focused with trying to have the best of the best out there, then you're going to be too focused on that rather than actually putting stuff out there for the public.
And that's what I tell my clients all the time. Like, it's just about getting started. I think you had a clip the other day where it's like just getting started. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
exactly.
It's about the content. It's about you putting yourself out there. It's about you feeling comfortable on camera and being able to break beyond that fourth wall and have every one of your guests feel like they're sitting in that couch.
Right.
You get me?
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention before we start, Cello, feel free to talk from out loud. We if he definitely like says something that's not true, you can shout it out. I don't care about any voices off camera. Before we get started, I did want to say this show is sponsored by a live studio. If you are interested in starting a show like what we're showing you here with all the camera switches, with the graphics, go to bookalivestudio.com and book a discovery call. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing what we can do. Cool. Also, we're low-key. We're going to start doing studio builds soon and getting into consulting.
Nice.
I'm excited about that. We're like building a landing page around it. Someone reached out to me, cold from Vegas, and they were like, look, I would love for you to just help me build out a studio.
So now let me ask you this. How did that come to be?
How did what?
The person reaching out to you?
Us putting out content.
Exactly.
Like us doing that. And that's the hardest lesson I have had to learn, my guy. Like, putting myself out there is tough for me. Like, I don't know. It's just not second nature to me.
Yeah.
And I am realizing that if we're in this game selling shows to people, I need to have a show of my own.
Exactly.
I can't be.
And the thing is that, like yourself, you're working, especially with a live studio, right? You're working for clients, things like that, and you're growing their content, right? You're growing their brand. However, how come or why is it that you're not building your own brand, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing, like you said right now, based on your content that you're putting out, somebody reached out to you, right? Mm-hmm. So I totally understand that. That's why I'm putting myself out there. I'm taking time to come here. Why? Because one, I want to gain this knowledge and this experience of me being a guest. Why? Because I want to become a better host. That way, when people come into my platform, like, I can take something great of your studio, your setup. That way I can implement it into my own platform, right? Yeah. And it's just so important to put yourself out there. Just it's something that I actually want to make a clip out of this. Somebody from being on my podcast told me that, I guess they were talking about, they're a club promoter. And he mentioned that he was going to be doing a festival here in San Diego, downtown San Diego, with a lot of musicians. And from somebody watching that podcast, they reached out to him to see if he wanted to be a collaborator for another festival and to another location. Beautiful. So the power of content, the power of podcasting in general, it's huge. Mm-hmm. And another thing, too, it creates so many different types of relationships, right? Like, just coming and having this brief conversation right now with you, I feel like I connect with you, right? Yeah. And you start building so many types of relationships and friendships out of this. And it's beautiful, man. I can go on forever talking about this.
I love that you made a point to talk about, and this is what we like to talk about. Like, we like our clients to build shows around their business goals. Whether you are, selling a service, selling a product, or you're just selling your expertise in one specific thing, whether you're like a coach who like helps people do, public speaking. We want to work with people that are like, they have a bottom line that they're trying to push. You get me? Because at the end of the day, like working with people that want to go viral, like it doesn't work like that. And oftentimes when you go viral, you build the wrong audience. You build the audience off of that thing you went viral for, and now people hold you up to that standard. Whereas it's just like, if being yourself is something that didn't get you to go viral, now you have to not be yourself to hold that virality. So it becomes like a weird space to put yourself in. Whereas if you understand that, like, you're taking this on, every episode is a drop in a bucket, and you're treating it like networking. You're treating it like, if I'm not going to connect with this person, like someone else who's watching is going to connect with us and see our expertise and what we're doing.
Right.
And, you know, it may grow from 5 people to 6 people to 7 people, but you know those people rock with you.
Exactly.
I mean, we're about building tribes, not building followers that are just here one day and like, oh, I guess he doesn't do that all the time. Next, like, I'm not going to follow him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to ask, like, what is your like business goal with Nomas?
So right now, to be honest, a little background with me. I still work my 9 to 5, actually from 6:30 to 3. So I still have my full-time job. This Nomas podcast project that I have going on, it's right now it's an endeavor of mine that I'm working towards and building.
Yeah.
I eventually would want to take and do something similar to what you're actually doing, because I just love doing it. And it's just like I'm finding a place to where I can eventually come down to like have it so systemized that it's just like working on its own, right? Mm-hmm. And another thing too is just my whole goal would be just creating content for other people, as well as being a content creator, and as well as me being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
However, I like and enjoy all the back end. So doing something similar to what you're doing, that's my goal to eventually do that, create my own content, but at the same time helping others, because just like yourself, from helping others, you're learning along the way. You're learning how to properly structure a reel that can go viral, right? Saying a hook and putting it in front, or, you know, removing all those and ands, right? All those filler words to make the clip a lot more consumable to the people now with, you know, short span, you know, especially with TikTok, things like that. People have a short span, and if you don't captivate them with the first couple of seconds, then they move on to the next, right?
Yeah.
So learning along the way, talking with now friends that I've learned through podcasts, like I'm finding a lot of love and passion for this. And I just like, when I get off from work, this is the first thing that I want to do, right? Content creating.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So eventually doing this would be my dream and goal, to just be living out of content creating.
Yeah. Can I ask, what do you do full time, and has anything from your full time job carried over into what you do now?
So I work for this shipbuilding, ship repair company for the Navy. I started there when I was literally about 19. I was 19, so right off from high school. And from there, just I was actually on my tools, from welding to cutting with a torch, reading blueprints.
Yeah.
From there, became 4 years being on my tools. Then 4 years, after 4 years, I became a supervisor. Once I was a supervisor, one of my biggest struggles as a supervisor, I was, like I said, I was like in my early 20s, and I had this older man that I was going to be supervising and giving directions to, right? And one of my biggest struggles is like, how am I going to be telling this older man what to do when, yet again, I'm just a kid in a sense, right? But then I learned that, you know what, I had gained the respect from me working along them, that they already respected me. And of course, if I came at them with respect, there shouldn't be a reason why they shouldn't be listening to what I had to do. Plus, at the end of the day, I was a good leader, that I wasn't only telling them what to do, but I knew the process because I've been there and done that with them.
Yeah.
So after that, it became... after 8 years, 4 years being on my tools, 4 years being a supervisor, I jumped into being into the estimating department. So that's my current position now. Became an estimator. Now I'm a senior estimator for this company.
That's dope. You out here climbing the economic ladder, and still finding time for your dreams. Like that's the dream, right?
And that's one of the biggest things that I really want to put out, right? That although I have 9 to 5, I'm still out here creating content, right? And as soon as I started creating content, which was I think, at least when it comes up to podcasts, it's been almost 7 months that I've been consistent every single week, right? And as you mentioned earlier, I've been fine-tuning my system, that way I can just be faster, better, learning as I go. But if I didn't put myself out there, then I wouldn't have known all these different tips and tricks, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to throw off. My girlfriend's taking pictures behind the scenes.
We're good. I'm fine.
You're good with it?
I'm totally good with it. I mean, she might bark at some point. She slept she's been sleeping all day because she's been in the pool all yesterday. So hopefully she'll be out and be a podcast dog. Nice. We want her to be.
Nice. But yeah, going back to that, that's something that I always preach, that even though we have our 9 to 5, right, that you can still work towards your goals and dreams. And I've been doing content creative vlogging and things like that for years now. I haven't been as consistent as podcasting. Podcasting, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And it has made it super easy to be consistent with.
Yeah. You had said something, because I did research, you also have your vlog podcast. Yeah. How long have you been doing that for?
So vlogging, man, I've been doing it for years, but it's been a struggle because I haven't been as consistent with it, right? I think I've been doing it ever since I can remember, throwing a little vlog here, throwing a little vlog there. Yeah. Finally, just recently, about a couple months ago, one got up to 15,000, and for me that was huge, right?
That's everything, bro. That's fucking
dope. For me that was huge, and now with podcasting, we're finding the right recipe to make a viral clip. Just recently with my girl, we did a podcast that on TikTok, it got over 130,000 views. Then we have another one, 60,000 views. Just another one, we started implementing this new thing into our podcast that is called Hot Topics.
Okay.
And
I love it. Segments.
Yeah, little segments, right?
It matters, bro.
And with that, she got, just out of a random topic that she threw out there, got 30,000. So we're finding the rhythm of things, how to work it. So it just, as we mentioned, you have to put yourself out there, and eventually you'll start building that muscle, like you stated. But going back to what I'm doing for work, at times it's a struggle, right? Because I'm like, man, I just want to do what I love, right? But at the same time, I'm so grateful. And I remember that because of this job, I was able to purchase my home when I was 23.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a foundation, and it's been a blessing because I've been able to have my mom not work anymore. I actually I have the luxury to have my mom with her own place. She stopped working when I was maybe 19.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so at that time I was kind of like, hey, what are you gonna do, Mom? I was scared. I was just a kid, right?
Yeah.
But just God has blessed me with having a good job and a good being stable enough to provide her without, obviously I don't have luxuries for her, but she's able to just sustain herself with whatever I'm able to provide her. And live on her own without having to struggle, right?
Yeah.
And with that, so at times I go back and forth with you know what, yes, I want to do what I love, but at the same time, I'm grateful that I do have a good job that I'm able to have as a foundation to continue building on my goals and dreams.
Yeah. No, that's dope. I love to hear that. I was going to ask, has the people skills at least rubbed off into it and made it easier for you to come in? Because you said you're managing people under you right now, right? Have you seen any skills transfer over into that, being able to keep a conversation interesting, whether a guest wasn't interested or not, or things like that, whether it be even disagreeing with someone, you know what I mean? Where if someone says something, have any of those skill sets, carried over into it?
Yeah, you know what?
Or even vice versa. Have you become more personable as a boss now? Now that you're putting yourself out there?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It goes back and forth, right? I implement both. As you stated, I use some skill sets that I've learned from work to systemize what I do now.
Yeah.
But then also with the podcasting, I'm becoming, not that I'm good at it, but I'm trying to.
You're good at it. You're out here doing it. You're consistent. Yeah, you're good at it.
I'm getting better at, obviously trying to be a better public speaker. That's why I'm here, because it's another learning and stepping stone for me. But I'm implementing those skill sets and taking it to the workforce. That way, whenever I do have a presentation or I need to speak in front of a group, I can do it more freely. And I'm learning how to deal with my nerves. That's one of the biggest things that I've always dealt with on being nervous or not knowing what to say, not knowing what to expect, dealing with a lot of different faces, just blank stares in front of me, right? That's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning as I go, but if I don't put myself out there, then you're never going to learn, right?
Yeah.
So I implement both from whatever I know at work and whatever I learned from doing the podcasting, I implement on both sides.
You're not alone there when it comes to like the nervousness. Like shit, I was nervous before you guys came here, just because like I don't like to put much structure around the conversation. It's more like Jesus, take the wheel. Like we're gonna see how this conversation
I'm the
goes.
Same way.
Just like relying on yourself being personable and just knowing that you're connecting with someone on something, and we're out here doing this journey together. You get me?
Definitely.
And I love that you spoke earlier, like how you want to do something in this field. Like we might be planting the seeds right now. You get me?
Yeah, exactly.
For us to potentially work together in the future. Like I love how you just spoke and about like clips, like especially for me, like we see like micro content and clips as like that's a career within itself. Like understanding the art of making a clip, understanding that like everyone out there right now is at like a very short attention span. So it's like you have to go in there and find those moments. Like there are some people that definitely like hold teams where like they'll have people just dedicated to like, hey, you sit back there while this whole episode is going down. We have a sound person, we have this person. You're just taking notes. Take notes and timestamps. And you're just like, so that they can get the clips out that much faster. So I just love that your attention to detail is there. And it's just like, sky's the limit. Like,
and you know what? That's something that my whole goal with my podcast, I like to compare it to the top podcast because I'm a huge, sorry about that. I'm a huge, I watch YouTube a lot, right? And podcasts,
I used to pay for YouTube Premium. Like
I still do it. I consume YouTube so much on a daily basis. I just love the platform, right? And the thing is, since I watch YouTube a lot, I like to see different podcasts. So my whole goal with my podcast is to use what I have and utilize it. And for when somebody watches my podcast, it's just as good as anybody else's, right? With the equipment I already have, without spending too much. As you stated before, I think I'm not sure if this was before the podcast started, but a lot of my equipment is through Amazon and just things that maybe the camera I use. I think a lot of people trip out on this is that I literally use a DJI camera. It's super small and it creates pretty nice clips.
It follows you. My grandma used to call it a little like
exactly.
Robot following me. I love the idea of just like working with what you have. And I think for us, we often sometimes like, especially as we're going down this path of like producing for bigger clients, like they're starting, like when you work for bigger people, they expect to see like the whole rig, the shoulder rig and things like that. But oftentimes people expect us to roll up with that. You get me? Seeing the output that we have here. So it's definitely like, it's going against the grain. And I can't wait for, the point where things in the barrier just get so low that people just don't expect those things anymore.
Right.
And I feel like it's definitely going to come with like every newer generation as they like, for us as computers, for kids today, it's iPads. You get me? They don't, what the hell is a computer? You get me? So likewise, those things will happen with cameras and things. I mean, shit, our iPhone is probably maybe 4 or 5 years away from replacing DSLRs. Like they already have cinematic mode on video. Like they now have the recrop feature. Like I want to upgrade one of my cameras to the new Sony ZV-E1. Just because now it does follow your face. You can crop it in. And there are times where like, because we have like the side-by-side scene that you'll see over there where people like move or things like that. I just want to not be able to worry about that. Just like yourself, I want to see like how much can I automate this process. One of our goals this year is to eventually like get a studio where I can kind of like just, hit ×3 on this equipment that I have and just like build a point and shoot, studio that people can just come into, and we worry more about the set design and making it feel special to the person so that they can be their best selves.
I think that's one of my biggest goals too, to actually have a studio. Like right now where I shoot at, I haven't released my final video on it, but actually my girlfriend Cello, her dad built this studio. This literally, I think it's like 12 by 10 studio, like in my backyard. So that's where I shoot all my content. Like we literally built it last year. We spent like 6 months just working on it after work, just building it from scratch. And it's literally my little in-home office. That's where I have my setup there, and that's where I shoot it from, honestly. But I want my whole goal is right now to get caught up with all the different content that I have, because I want to showcase that journey from being out there working on my tools, building this studio, to what I've built Nomas podcast right now, and to where I plan on taking it,
That's awesome.
So that's my whole goal. That way people can get engaged through the journey. So because I feel like when people can see that connection, and they can see like this guy literally did it from ground up, that anybody can do this.
And it doesn't even matter at what point they join your journey, because even if they join your journey later on, like, it's there. It's always going to be there. They can always say, like, wait, like, he didn't just, like, come on the scene and, like, an industry plant that, like, someone just, like, put him on.
Exactly,
like,
right?
You built it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's so dope. I love to see that.
Yeah, and then something you mentioned that like, actually brought this into mind was that people are making a lot of money through content creating and those short clips. Like, I have a friend, I'm not really going to put his name out there or his total amount, right? But out of one client, he's making a good $5,000, $10,000 a month out of just short form content, right?
It's fucking crazy, bro.
It's crazy, but then you think about it, right? If somebody's really trying to take their business to the next level, content creating is so important, right? Just like you mentioned earlier, by you putting yourself out there, somebody reached out that they want you to be out there helping them out with their own studio or with their own platform. And it's just, if you're not doing content creating right now at this time, you're falling behind. It's so important, and that's why I'm so embedded. Plus, I love it. And just having those intimate conversations is...
Can I ask, do you think you need to have, like, a business to be doing this? Because, like, for me, I see a future where, like, every small business, everyone who's like even a small stake entrepreneur, whether that's a coach, like, I see everyone having a studio or some sort of place in their home where they can just easily create content. And now that all these other tools are coming, AI is coming on and helping people, it's not getting to the point where it's fully doing the clip for you, but it might give you a great starting point. You know what I mean? And, like, it's only exponentially going to get fast. So, like, who is the who should be creating content in your mind? You get me? Is it business owners or is it everyone?
Everyone, because one of my main concepts with the podcast is that every person is unique, right? And everybody has a story to tell. Your life, your journey can change somebody's life by putting it out there, right? Your struggles, your successes, everything. So anybody out there, everybody should be putting out content. Why? Because even, let's say, if you're a chef, if you're a cook, it's simple as the way that you cut your fruits and vegetables can inspire somebody, like, oh, you know what, I cut it this way, or you know what, I learned how to cut it better because of this person. Next thing you know, it opens up different opportunities, right? You just never know. So no matter what you're doing, you should be sharing it with the world. I think it's a beautiful thing, to be honest with you.
No, I agree. I like to say, like, we're all uniquely the same. Meaning, like, we're all, like, unique in our own way, but we're made of the same parts in different orders. You get me? Whether it's like this experience happened in the beginning of your life or at the end of your life, like, we're all the same in terms, like, we all have the same life experiences, but that uniqueness is, like, how we portray it. You get me? How it happened to us. I love getting into this because the show is called How to Copy and Steal. And usually the first question that I like to start with is, when you hear those words, copy and steal, what does that mean to you?
The first thing that comes into mind, without putting too much thought into it, is taking what somebody's already doing it and implement it for your own benefit. And that's the first thing that comes, right? And then you see dope artists steal. You have a frame up here, and to be quite frank, even as it sounds like maybe like a bad thing to do, but everybody does it, and you have to do it, right? Even big companies out there, artists, musicians, no matter what they're doing, everybody does it, right? But because everybody is unique in their own shape or form, or their lifestyle, whatever, they're gonna, even though they're stealing this type of content, but they're gonna put some sort of uniqueness behind it.
So that's exactly how I see it. Like, it's the idea that there's no such thing as an original idea. And the idea of stealing versus copying is like copying one-to-one. Like, I can copy the Mona Lisa, and I mean, I can try to do it as one-to-one as possible, or I could steal the idea of the Mona Lisa and paint it in my own style. You get me? And that's taking something and making it yours. I see it as like another way of like inspiration.
Definitely.
And like going into that, I wanted to talk more about like, because you said you're a YouTube fan and like you're really big on YouTube.
Yeah.
Are there any creators on YouTube in specific that you know, in other words, are inspired by, or for me have like taken ideas from them? Like I know for me, like Hot Ones. Have you seen Hot Ones at all? It's a show where they interview celebrities and
with
they
the
eat
wings.
wings.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen that.
I took a lot of inspiration from the way that they structure conversations, the way that they structure podcasts. Like I love how when they start a podcast, similar to like with clips, they started with the most interesting moment of that podcast first. You get me? They'll do it like black and white or something like that later in the episode.
A lot of podcasts are doing that now.
Yeah, and it's just the hook. It's just like, wait, I wanna watch this show all the way till that moment. Right. Sometimes people just click on that moment, but you're gonna get that view. You get me?
Yeah.
So that's like something that I definitely like copied and stole from them. Where you
so are you currently doing that right now?
Like yeah. So I've been trying to do that. Yeah.
That's you know what? As I was taking a shower today, I was thinking that in my mind that I eventually, because I have this pretty big podcast I can take off for this Wednesday. If it takes off, it can be huge, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, okay, I was thinking of doing that and implementing that for this one. If I don't do it for my actual podcast, at least have that maybe 3-minute segment of the highlights.
Yeah.
And at least promote it through TikTok, through Instagram. That way people are ready for Wednesday when it drops, right? Even though if I don't implement it on the actual podcast itself, but people already know what the subjects are, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I structurize my podcast as of now, right? Before I was delivering the podcast and uploading the podcast to YouTube on Mondays. The problem with that is, for instance, if we're shooting right now, let's say if this was my own platform, if I'm shooting right now, then I was spending all day Sunday trying to get this rushed thumbnail clips, trying to have everything ready to promote it on Monday. And the time zone was too short, and I was overstressing. So now what I've done is I upload on Wednesdays, right? Because let's say if I shoot Saturday, Sunday, I still have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whatnot, to work on the thumbnail, to upload the podcast, things like that. So I'm giving myself more time and breathing space to actually release the podcast, and it gives time to promote it, right? The way I like to look at Reels and TikToks and all that is it's pretty much previews of the actual podcast. Similar when you're going to watch a movie that you watched, what is it called? The freaking, the trailers. Yeah, the trailers of the movies. Thank you, babe. The trailers of the movie, right? You watch the trailer, and then after watching so many clips of it, you eventually want to see the whole podcast, right? You want to see how the conversation between these two individuals went. You know?
No, I love just the your thinking behind it, and just thinking about it from a structural standpoint. Like, yes, all these things matter. You can't just like, and this was where I was with my headspace, like when we first built the business, just hard lessons that we're learning that, you know, coincide with like, or just us personally. Like I thought like if I build it, they will come. That's not how it works. Like, and today you got to build it, you got to promote it, and then maybe they may come. You get me?
Yeah.
And I love how you, not only are you thinking from the perspective of just like promoting your episodes, but also thinking from the perspective of just like who you have on your episodes and how you can leverage audiences and leverage different people that may not be in your demographic by interviewing someone who you have something in common with.
Yeah.
But your fans may not. You get me? Like,
you know what's crazy right now is you're saying this.
Push the mic towards you.
Sorry.
You move a little more this way. Yeah.
So right now as you're saying this, right? Sorry, it's because I'm used to wearing headphones, right? So that way I'm able to control myself. But one of the things is that with this podcast, I've gone from somebody that's, well, I'll start off from before, right? From it was going to be me and my friend Chris that we were going to be we started literally recording in the living room, and then from there I noticed his interest or his actual work on behind the scenes. He wasn't really putting in the legwork, so I got kind of discouraged. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it myself and run with it. And then from there I interviewed just a couple friends here and there. Next thing you know, somebody watched it, they wanted to be on the podcast, so they came in. The next thing you know, I had a podcast with a YouTuber. I'll give him a shout out here to Jose, your social media guy. From there, we built a great relationship, a friendship out of that podcast. And out of that podcast, after that, we just became really tight. And next thing you know, having a podcast with another, you know, X person, a musician, then a club promoter. Next thing you know, somebody's that's running for presidency of the United States, even though I don't think he's going to make it, but because of what he's promoting, it's not what the powers that being want, right? But man, this person is literally running for presidency, right? So it's just crazy, the different types of people that I've gotten to, I guess, have a connection with through podcasting.
Have all of them been like cold outreach, or like has it been snowball, like one after the other?
Yeah, it's been a snowball effect, definitely. I've said it in the past that after I do a podcast with somebody, I unlock another character, right? Because that's how it is. I mean, I've been fortunate that because I do a podcast, the majority of the people that I have on, they reach out themselves, right? And it's just incredible. And I see it as a blessing that because of, once again, putting yourself out there, you're reaching thousands of people evenly. Now, going back to the different types of people that I have on, another thing that I'm kind of like learning as I go is that at times you want to have certain people because of their reach, their following, their audience. But just recently, just having my girlfriend on the podcast and just having a conversation of one of her ayahuasca experiences, it took off. And that's the biggest TikTok we have now, which is that 130,000 TikTok. So that's something that I really want to implement and put out there, that at times, you know what, even having a conversation with your loved one, with your friend, can make your podcast, make your platform grow, rather than just trying to look for somebody that has a huge following, right? Because I've actually struggled with this in the past. Somebody that has a huge following has come into my platform. They do the whole podcast. We have a freaking great time and everything. But when the podcast releases, when I release the TikToks, they don't even reshare at all. So my point of view was like, what the heck, man? Like, we just spent all this time doing that, and you're not going to promote it. You're not going to share it.
Yeah.
And I would look at it as kind of discouraging. At times I would like go back to my girl and I would tell her, man, what the heck, man? What do you think about this? Do you think I posted something that they didn't like, or what? Because my whole goal is that when somebody comes here, I release the best version of themselves. That way, when I release this podcast, they feel proud and they want to like show it to their fans, to their family, friends, or whatnot. But I've had a few instances when they like are completely hush and they won't even share anything. So going back to that, at times it doesn't even have to be somebody that has a huge following. You can literally have a podcast with one of your closest friends, and the story behind is what's going to make a viral TikTok or a viral podcast itself.
It's that natural conversation, that natural ebb and flow that you have with someone.
Exactly, the story. So that's something that I've been, like I tell my girl at times, I feel like, you know what, fuck it. You know what, if it has to be just me, you and I doing this, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm putting the work that a lot of people are not going to be doing. So even if it is us two at the end, then we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. That's the reason why she's here. That's the reason why she's over there learning how to shoot pictures, editing podcasts now. And you know what? Because the people that want to be with me are going to be with me. And if I'm successful, they're going to be successful too.
No, that's awesome. I love to see that. Honestly, Priscilla and I are low-key doing the same. Like, on the Copy and Steal channel, I just made some changes to it because I felt like I was trying to do too much. So I definitely want, How to Copy and Steal to just be like a place where her and I can be ourselves and just like get into like the way that we think about creativity, the way that we believe that there is no such thing as an original idea. So on this channel, we have our podcast called This Wasn't Planned. And that's just, it's just like a reflection on our life, how we met. I didn't plan to get stuck out here in San Diego. I moved out here, right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and like I was in an empty loft, you get me, with all my stuff like in New York at the time. But yeah, so with that, like I want it to be more of a reflection of ourselves. So we have the This Wasn't Planned, where it's just her and I, and then sometimes she'll hop on episodes of How to Copy and Steal with me, where we interview others. And just get different conversations. Like
Yeah.
there'll be episodes where she'll be in the seat and I'll be switching.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And just, keeping it flexible. But I love that, like, you're incorporating your tribe with you. You
Definitely.
get me? And having them grow with you.
Definitely. And seeing your wife or your partner, right?
Yeah.
And pretty much when we first walked in, I saw a lot of what you guys do. I saw it between me and my girl, right? Because at the end of the day, like you stated, that's your tribe, that's your people, that's your group, right? And at the end of the day, when you do face downfalls, right, that's the people, that's the person that's going to be there, helping you out with whenever you are struggling. So I saw that, and I think that's a beautiful thing, that you guys are working together. And that's something that I'm working with my girlfriend, that teaching her everything that I know, and that way we can become stronger as a couple and as a team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. It's just I saw the same thing, and I think it's beautiful because I saw a reflection of us with you guys. So,
Yeah.
so that's dope, man.
And then for like the other channel I'm doing now, called the Live Studio, that's going to be mainly like for me going live and just showcasing our expertise and how we build shows.
That's
where we're
dope,
getting ready
man.
to do like a vlog where we show how we build like a 3-camera setup.
So wait, is that gonna be a vlog
So
style?
it's gonna be a mix of vlogs, but it's also gonna be a majority me just going live, like over there at that desk, building stuff in front of people.
Oh, I would love to see vlogs, bro. Like, just from my own perspective,
Yeah.
like as soon as you said that, oh man, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Because I like to see like pretty much a blank canvas and how everything turns out. So if you guys were to do something in like a vlog style, I'll be
I just need
watching.
to build the muscle. I need to get into it. Like, again, like the hardest part with vlogs with me is just putting together the footage. And I understand, like, it just gets easier, the more you do it. Right now, I'm kind of like holding off just because we're trying to build the business too, trying to find, like, yes, I'm trying to like wait and see, like, is there an AI tool that's going to come in and at least get like all of the brunt work out of it? Because like with a lot of vlogs, they're mainly like chronological. So it's just like, if I could give like a tool like this chronological footage, could it then find the moments in there and just give me like a base starting point? You get me? And then I'll go in there and add my effects, or point here and put a price tag there. You get me?
Yeah.
But it's just those types of things. But honestly, we're getting there so fucking
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
And it's wild. I did want to touch on the question that I asked you, like, who are your biggest inspirations on YouTube?
Oh man, I totally
No, you're
blanked
good.
that.
The
Yeah,
conversation went.
I started rambling around. So my biggest inspirations, to be honest, when you said with YouTube in general.
Yeah. Could be anything in general, other creators too, but like I know you said YouTube. So.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, anybody that's out there, living or creating content and making a living out of it, that's my inspiration, because that's my goal and dream, right?
Yeah.
And just lately, because of podcasts, I've been able to meet those people that are actually living that dream in my perspective. As mentioned, Jose, he's a pretty well-known YouTuber, and now a close friend of mine, right? And through him, I've met other relationships. So I thank God that because of the podcast, the platform, putting myself out there, I'm meeting all those people that at one point I was watching as a viewer, as an audience, right? And it's so dope, right? Because they are coming into my platform, right? Them willingly wanting to come and have a conversation with me. And for Chelo, me and my girl, at times we talk about this, and I'm like, man, this is freaking surreal, right? That we just had so and so person at our house coming into my studio, and just now I have them on my phone, and just like having this, I guess, a snowball effect of coming in and just seeing the traction from what we started recently, just a couple months ago. It's amazing. So going back to your question, is all those people that are living and creating content and being YouTubers or whatever they're doing on social media, those are the people I inspire to achieve and be with.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to create relationships with them. So it's been amazing.
It's crazy how like the degrees of separation from like where you want to be to where you are, and as you keep doing this, how that degree just keeps decreasing and decreasing. Like we've had dreams about like producing shows with like certain celebrities and things like that, and then we have clients who like have celebrities as guests on their thing, and it's just like I exchange contact information with them, and now I have someone who's in my contact book who did a music video with Logic. You get me? And it's just like,
dope.
I would love to like work with Logic and help him do his YouTube channel. Just like little things like that, like building this community. Like I think people don't understand that when you are building a podcast, like not only are you working on yourself, but like you're building people around you, and you're the kind of growing your influence, and those goals become a lot easier to achieve as you add that person to your contact book and things like that.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. I've been wanting, and before I forget, right?
Yeah.
Have you collabed with any other podcast from San Diego or in the past?
So when I first started like doing it and doing the How to Copy and Steal podcast, the first person I reached out to was a client of ours called Claudia Soloca, over in Barrio Logan. Not sure if you've ever heard of her. But yeah, that was the first person I reached out to, and I had her on my podcast, and then kind of we started producing her podcast after it.
Oh, so they have an actual podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
So yeah, I've done that, but now that I'm on this journey of like really pushing it, that's my goal. Like it's this plus like the added of like doing the micro content and making sure like it's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
Especially if we start to involve with the idea of going live. The reason why I believe in live so much is because it allows you to break that fourth wall and have the community that you're growing in the conversation with you. And then sometimes like depending on like how you structure things, like you could have segments that allow them to kind of influence your show, whether that's like reading the comments, whether that's surfacing up comments, or having people call in via phone. So I don't know, it's just like a different touch point. It's definitely a lot more to grasp in terms of like putting yourself out there. But what I will say is like, and what I teach to my clients is like, when you go live, that whole drop in the bucket thing really resonates, because there is no having to upload it afterwards.
Yeah.
It's already up.
Yeah.
And it's just, what's the thumbnail that we're going to put on this? You get me?
That's freaking dope.
So
man.
there's nothing, you can do as much live podcast as you want to do, essentially. And I mean, we've seen it happen for like numerous clients. I think Boisterous Boys was the biggest one that we saw, where like they were going live every Monday at 4:00. And, within that first 6 or 7 months, they surpassed that goal of like 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. Then they started to get super chats.
Nice.
They were making anywhere from like $200 to $300 an episode from super chats. Obviously YouTube is taking whatever they take out of the pie, but like for a smaller channel to be making money off super chats is like, it's crazy. Like imagine when the numbers start to increase and they have more frequent people on there, like it's another fucking dope, revenue line right there. So yeah, like that's something I definitely believe in, just like the full structure. And I love how you have this structure around your show. It's not just you putting yourself in front of the camera and just like putting out there, I hope it goes. Because we've had certain clients that like, we give them all this footage, but they don't make clips.
Oh, really?
They don't make things. And like, they're still doing well.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I can't, like, I'm almost terrified of like, what would your numbers do had you like just put a clip out? You get me?
Yeah, the way that I like to say it is at times I just had this conversation with my girl, is that we have a lot of podcasts that back then I wasn't as structurized, right? Yeah. That I'm like, man, there's gold there. There's gold that we haven't put out there. So I just haven't had the time, right? But the thing is that I want to go back to all those different podcasts that at the time being, I didn't have the same structure or the knowledge that I was able to clip so many different reels or TikToks. But I want to go back to that and call it like a throwback Thursday and just throw up freaking 5 random ones from the past.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact there's a lot of clips out there that can take off. As you mentioned, if your clients are not doing that, Nah, they don't know what they're missing out on.
Right. And the thing is, like, we like put a lot of stress on the fact that like we're a full production company. Like, we handle the day of for you, so that like you're gonna get this with your logo on it. You're gonna get it with your assets on there. Like, you're gonna trigger your intro. We're gonna trigger your outro. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the light. Like, if you're sponsored by someone, we're gonna put it in a spot where like it's present. You get me?
That's
And
dope.
we love helping people kind of create like segments around their business goals. So if like, you know, let's say, you know, your job sponsors an episode, like how can we create a segment around that? You get me? Where you talk about your expertise in that space, or and even just making, you know, yourself the first sponsor of your podcast, you know, does a lot in terms of like, it allows a brand to kind of see, all right, where do I fit in the picture here?
Yeah.
You get me? Like, how could I be involved with Nomas? You get me?
And you know what? As a matter of fact, and babe, take note of this, right? What I love is that you promoted a live studio, right? So that's actually something that we need to start implementing, right? Of actually putting into our podcast that we are going to be offering that editing of podcasts as reels, right? Because I eventually want to do something similar to what you're doing, right? And that's, we just literally had that conversation about like, hey, let's, even if it's pre-recorded to implement there, but to promote the like Oinoma Studios type of thing, right? Because and seeing you doing it, I'm for sure gonna copy and steal it.
I love it. That's what I'm here for. Like that is what I believe in. Like, yeah, I mean, like we're only helping each other move forward. You
Definitely.
get me? Like there's no such thing as like crab in the crab in the bucket mentality is just, it's gotta go.
Yeah.
Like,
So now let me ask you this, because I'm curious, was there a clip in specific that I posted on Instagram or I think Instagram that you found the podcast?
so I think I saw, like, I think it was the one where, and maybe I saw the episode, but you had a musician on and he was playing music.
Okay.
And I remember seeing you earlier to that. I had, I think I've connected with Jose once. We've spoken a little bit.
Okay.
I want to get him on the show at some point. But yeah, I kind of just dug into your YouTube and I went to your first video compared to your last one. That's honestly what sold me. It was just seeing the increase in just like production value from your first episode to your latest ones, and just seeing the little changes that you're making, from adding colors in the background to doing the projector in the middle. You get me? Like,
exactly.
all those things, and I was just like, shit, this guy's doing it. And then your clips just kept compounding, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is it. And I noticed the attention to detail in the clips. Like, those are things that I'm still like out of touch with. Again, like, I see that as like, that's a whole like career path in itself. Like, people can be out there just making clips for people and making a killing, as you said. Like, your one guy has a client that's just paying anywhere up to $10,000 for just micro content.
Definitely.
So yeah, like, I think that's what really caught my attention. That's dope, just seeing your work ethic.
I do just want to say thank you for even like watching my content and seeing the different I guess progression along the way, right? And at times I'm even afraid to go back and looking at those clips because I guess it can be a little bit cringy, but it is what it is. You know, it's part of the journey. But yeah, I learned from each episode. I learned even at times I wasn't even having an introduction, right? Because I was fucking nervous. And
question, did you how'd you do your intro? Because it sounds like it's definitely, from hearing your intro, I originally thought that you came from radio. I thought you came from that radio background, because it's very radio-esque, like the whole and
it goes back to, you know, wanting to have something that's legitimate, having an intro, things like that, right? But I outsourced it. Because I really just wanted to have that in.
How did you outsource it? Just like Fiverr or like
Fiverr? Fiverr.
Dope,
Fiverr.
Bro. I love it.
Fiverr. I actually have one of my people that I did a podcast with, El Moño, he actually does that for famous musicians, but I don't want to go and ask him because I don't want to put him in the spot that he probably thinks that I want something for free. So I go back to the person in Fiverr, which I think he'll probably hook me up because, I mean, I did a lot of reels for him. But anyways, I did it through Fiverr. So that's actually something that I want to actually mention, that if you're able to outsource a lot of your content creating, that's the way to go, because eventually, and I didn't know this till just recently, a couple of months ago, that the reason why I've been able to create so many reels and put myself out there is because I'm trying to outsource a lot of the content out there. That way I can continue doing content out there, putting it onto my platforms, and that way I can continue living just my personal life, having that work-life balance, because even though I have my full-time job, I'm creating content, but at the same time, I want to cater and give attention to my girl as well. So finding that balance is something that I'm really, really trying to work with now. But at the same time, I want to be a content creating machine.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, honestly, Priscilla and I go back and forth on it, where it's just like, we have to remember that we're people too.
Definitely.
You get me? And that, like,
Definitely.
though we do this and we love doing it, it can't be, our one identifier.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I love it. Like, we've had numerous back and forths on it, where it's just like, why are we talking about work? It's like, I love it. You get me? Like, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you're doing what you love, man, that's, for me, that's living the dream. And because that's even though for you, in my perspective, you're living the dream, right? Because at one point I want to be able to do what you're doing. So you guys are doing it, right? But obviously, as you continue growing, or once you reach a specific level, you want to continue, getting better or reaching other goals that you have. But in my perspective, if you're able to live your current life with what you're doing and what you love, man, that's a beautiful thing, brother.
Yeah. And it ain't easy. It looks a lot nicer than it is. Like,
trust me,
I went
I
and
understand.
jumped full. Like, I quit my job. Like, I had them like, hey, can you guys just actually, like, I had them fire me, I think, so I could collect unemployment at that point. But yeah, like, it ain't easy. And it leads me to, like, a question, which is just like, and without, like, I don't want to get you in trouble, but, like, what does the path look like for you to take this on full time?
You know what? That's been my big. So I guess the question would be, like, what is it going to take me for me to do that? To be quite honest, right now, I'm making no income from any of the podcasts, from any of the clips. That's why I am going to be implementing the whole, maybe, I don't even know what I'll call it, maybe Nomas Studios, right? For creating reels. I want to, everything that I'm learning as I go is skill sets that I'm going to be implementing to provide for other people and create and build their own brand. So similar to what you're doing right now. That's what I want to do to my current livelihood. In order for me to do this, I've created myself too much of I guess a burden, right? Like I mentioned before, I kind of have to take care of my mom in a financial matter. Plus, I have a home to pay, my own bills and things like that. So it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take money. I don't want to say a while, because God only knows how long it's gonna take. For
all you need is one of these clips to hit off, and now people know that you make clips.
Yeah,
and it's just like, wait a minute, I need to reach out to Angel to get my shit done.
Exactly, and that's why I want to create the shift. And although I am gonna be having podcasts with different people, I want to focus on my journey and showcase that I started from scratch and I learned all these different skill sets, and now I'm offering everything that I learned for other people. That's my main focus. Once I do that, I'm gonna start promoting pretty much the podcast editing, the reels, the everything, and my portfolio is gonna showcase what I have to provide.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that is so dope. Like, I love it. I mean, shit, like, low key, sometimes I wish I would have, like, taken that path. I just know, like, for myself, it's hard. It was, especially in the work that I was in. Like, it wasn't work that I was just like, oh, cool, I can sign off and be done with it. Like, I was doing product design. I was very inside the nitty and gritty of, like, building out software. And, like, essentially, when you're working for, like, SaaS companies, software as service, the software that you're building is someone's day job. You get me?
Yeah.
So it was just very intensive for me in regards to, like, how much time I needed to put in, how much effort I needed to put into it. A lot of it's just, like, bird's eye thinking and systems, and kind of, like, trying to only show someone, the pages they need to see to get something done. And for me, that was very was very draining on my creativity, and it often just put me in a place where I was just like, shit, I don't want to do anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But thankfully, like, I was able to just jump and, like, you know, piece this together. We are building the plane as we're flying
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
But I'm proud of the work that we've done. Like, we've done a lot of good work, and I have a nice portfolio of things I'm sitting on.
Yeah.
Now it's just getting these things out there.
Yeah.
Like, we've been on this journey of, like, posting on social pretty much on a daily basis and trying to be consistent with that. And to be honest, all the things I've been posting on social as of late have been like clips from the years that we've been, doing it. I just didn't have the muscle to just like hit send. I was very much in my head and like this perfectionist that like things needed to look and feel a certain way, and not really thinking about what I was preaching to my clients, which is just show them the journey.
You know what? I think hearing you out, brother, I think it's like we're the opposite, right?
Yeah.
In a sense that you're doing what you currently do for a living, and I want to do what you're doing, right? In that sense, right? But at the same time, you were looking at it like from a trying to be too perfect and make sure that everything was like right. And for me, it was just like, I'm just going to spit out content. You know what I mean? So, man, but what you have going on, it's beautiful, man, honestly. Like, and then working with your wife or whatnot, it's just amazing. And it's inspiring me to see somebody else living a similar journey,
Yeah.
So as soon as we have this, I'll make sure to put it out there. And I love what you're doing, man. So I'm for sure gonna promote it, and maybe eventually we can work on some projects together.
Hell yeah. Like, honestly, I'm always looking for people to send my clients to that can kind of, take what we do with them and kind of orchestrate it and do it. Like, we've worked in the past with videographers where, like, because, like, going live and recording this stuff live is great. Like, we often end up with, like, an hour to an hour and a half of footage, but, like, no one's going to be watching an hour and a half of footage of your stuff on YouTube. You get me?
Exactly.
And there's a space there to work with another creative who that's their specialty. You get me? Like, and with a past client, they went live. They put that live footage on Patreon as like a paid add-on. Like, hey, you get the raw stuff over here. And then we'd work with a videographer to basically kind of orchestrate the story. What makes sense to be in here, and chopping down a 2-hour thing into something that's more, digestible. That's like 40-30 minutes. You get me? So yeah, there's definitely opportunities for us to work
Yeah,
together.
that'll be amazing, man. That'll be cool because it's very hard to find somebody that has the same passion or knowledge and skill sets that I guess a creator has, right? That's one of the hardest things that I have with my friends, that they don't care as much about cameras or gear or, oh man, what are you using to upload this, right? And that's why when I came here, I'm looking at everything you have, like, oh man, I love that, because I love learning about this, right? So having somebody else that can even teach me a lot of different things, or maybe I can teach and work, and hey, you know what, how can we fine tune this? It's just I love having that relationship. So man, maybe
I got a client coming up that they from TJ. They're like an agency, and I want to start a show. They're going to be doing a podcast all in Spanish. Like, when we start work with them, like, I would love to, like, touch base with you and see, like, hey, maybe this can be like your first micro content,
definitely
client. Because, like, Lord knows I'm not gonna be a fish out of water trying to fucking figure out and make their clips,
let me know.
especially if it's all Spanish.
Let me know. We can probably work something out and make something happen. And like I said, man, it's hard to find good people out there that love and have a connection with what you're currently doing. And I think you have it. And you have a very good energy, brother. You have a good energy. Yeah, I can't wait to see your guys' future. I know you guys are going to kill it.
Thank you. That means a lot. I want to just talk about like AI is coming in. Like, what are your views on AI? Have you used it at all in your tech stack? And then maybe going into like, what is your tech stack? Like, what do you use to edit? You had mentioned you have the DJI, is it Osmo Mini?
Yeah. Yep.
What other cameras do you have? You have the Canon, like.
So in regards to AI right now, in comparison to what you do, that you guys shoot a live podcast, and as soon as you guys are done with the podcast, recording or shooting the podcast, that as soon as you guys are done, pretty much the podcast is ready. What we do right now is we shoot the podcast, and I'm currently using Autopod to do the video editing, right?
So you're recording individual streams of audio.
Yeah, definitely. So we have our separate audio files and cameras that we pretty much all we have to do is sync the audio and the video files together, and from there we just throw it onto Autopod, and from there Autopod will pretty much clip it up. Yep, depending who the person is talking, it'll be switching from one camera to the other.
You can assign multiple mics to, like, so if you have a wide camera and if both the mics speak up, it goes to wide.
Yeah, you can have the I think I've used 3 cameras in the past, and Autopod will sync it up. Let's say if one person is talking, the camera's focused on that person.
Yeah.
If both people are talking, that's when the wide angle camera is gonna like jump into place, right? So that with Autopod, I think we've knocked down the editing within like an hour. But at the same time, I don't trust it fully, so I go back and rewatch it and fine tune it. Or let's say if I said something and the other person was laughing, but the camera was still focusing on me, and I wanted to showcase the other person laughing a little, then that's when I go in there and fine tune it a little bit.
Is it easy to do that?
Super easy.
All right, cool.
So yeah, super easy. So what it has the option to either, as soon as it crops it, it can delete all that extra footage is no longer there, or it also has a feature of enable disable.
Okay.
That's what I use, right? I for sure want to have that option of enabling and disabling for that fine tuning, right? In case I didn't like this camera angle, things like that, right? So now, as a matter of fact, I just showed my girl how to do the editing, at least the syncing of the audio and video files, and she'll do the Autopod. That way the base foundation is there, and all I'm doing now is I go back, rewatch it, make sure that I'll do the lower thirds, I'll do my intro thing, and as I'm going, I'm writing down all the different timestamps, and that's where I get my reels from. Pretty much through the timestamps. If I know something has the potential of going viral, I just cross it out, just do a little quick X that I know I need to go back and do reels for that one in specific. So something that I use also through editing to create those reels is that I didn't even know this, and it's so simple that, have you used Premiere in the past? Premiere Pro or no?
I tend to not use Adobe products, and not because I don't like Adobe. It's just because, like, one, their software is expensive, but like I like to use other tools that are a little more like cloud-based. So for instance, like when I design things in Figma.
Gotcha.
Figma is Adobe did buy Figma as of recent, or I think they're getting ready to close on them. But Figma is like Illustrator, but it's for the web. And it's cool because like I could essentially sign onto your computer and bring up my web files there without having to download or transfer anything.
Gotcha.
I really like reworking other tools and seeing how I can manipulate them to get those things that you would have to dig in a sea of menus in Premiere. Like what I find with like a lot of Adobe products is they're built for professionals, and because that is the reason, like because they're built for professionals, often like the way people use them, it's very like everything is locked in its own position. I mean, everything is in its own menu somewhere, and like for them to try to build something dumbed down, like they would only disservice those like core power users that use it every day.
Exactly.
Whereas like Canva can come in and just reimagine the way you design something. So I'm big in like working with things that are just like user friendly, that I can just like get in, crank it, get it out.
CapCut, man. CapCut, you have to jump at CapCut. Super easy. Super easy to use, and it just, when I discovered CapCut, in comparison to Adobe and all that, when it comes down to Reels, I use CapCut because Adobe, it's super hard to freaking like edit. At least in my perspective, it's super hard to edit those Reels and add those effects. And CapCut is just drag and play. Going back to what I was saying though, before I would produce the whole podcast, and after the podcast was fully produced, that's when I would pick out my Reels. But I was losing time. Now that I gave myself the until Wednesday to release the full podcast, I was able to do this. It's called subsequence. That instead of waiting for the whole podcast to be fully like reviewed or whatnot, if I'm there at a specific reel that I know it's gonna take off, I do the subsequence there, have it ready. outsource it. That way it's ready to be put out that same day even, right? Rather than before, I was waiting for the whole podcast to be produced. So I was losing a lot of time when I've already been producing those short form contents.
Yeah. That's dope. I have a question in regards to like micro content. Does it matter like the descriptions, tags, and like do you have any sort of tools or tips in regards to that, or does it not matter? Is the content key, and like a good clip is a good clip no matter if it has hashtag parenting or hashtag something around
to be quite honest, I think it's just the reel itself. Obviously right now what I'm doing is hashtag Nomas podcast. Why? Because I want to build that brand, right? As soon as somebody hashtags Nomas podcast, that's where they're going to find all these different clips. So I'm building that hashtag itself. Now, I've learned that some reels or TikToks that have taken off, I just keep the same hashtag Nomas podcast, and as some of those just take off. But what I noticed, I don't have to put those extra hashtags for it to take off. It's just if the reel itself is captivating, or the story within that reel, that's what's going to make one pop off or not. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you're fucking, hopefully that'll save me some time, because I tend to like overthink about those things. And like, I know that there are like tools that are coming out there that now like they'll look at your video and they'll tell you what clips and what things you need to be adding, and they'll give you a description and stuff like that. I'm trying to automate as much as possible, but I'm also just trying to like understand like, in the pursuit of automating these things, is it losing its human touch? Is it losing, the ability to connect with people because I'm using these tools? You get me? And yeah, I guess that's where that question was truly coming from.
Yeah, I would say just don't overthink it. Eventually, at least from my perspective, I haven't seen that much of a change or difference, because at least the ones that have reached to, I guess, in the 50,000s, 40,000s, or whatnot, even the 100,000, I just kept it the same. And it's just, if that real TikTok is going to hit, it's just going to hit on its own, right? It's similar to when a musician releases songs like, I wonder if I should do this. It's up to the people. They decide at the end of the day if something's going to go off or not.
Yeah.
At least, once again, that's my perspective.
Yeah. I want to ask a little more about like when it comes to your cameras. So what's your camera tech stack right now?
My camera, what again?
Like, but when I say tech stack, that's like a UX. Yeah. Stop saying that. What camera? What's your equipment look like right now?
My equipment. So I have my Canon G7X, which that's the camera that I use, which I need to change eventually because it has like a little. You can see some little specks of.
Like dead pixels.
Yes. Okay. So it has that, right?
Wait, it's is it on the screen, or it's translating to the footage too?
I think, to be honest with you, it has to be on the screen or something, because I tried cleaning it and all that, and it still shows.
Okay.
So I don't even know, but I've noticed you can't really notice it when it's in the actual podcast, because the image is pretty far back.
Yeah.
But when I do those reels and I'm zoomed in, that's when I noticed one or two specks, and it bugs me. Maybe somebody else wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah.
But I notice it, right? So I use my Canon G7X for myself. And for the guest, I'm using the DJI
Holy shit.
Pocket. Yeah, that's all I'm using.
And you're color matching these things, or are they already like?
Nah, no color matching at all.
Oh, shit.
I'm not even overthinking it or anything like that. Maybe at times I'll mess with the contrast a little, but that's it. I'm just releasing as I go.
So all your podcasts I've been seeing have been from.
It's with that camera that she's shooting with.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah, that's it.
That is sick.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I want like.
Does it give them? It gives them the freedom to like move around a bit. Like, will it lock onto them or?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. That's how much are you really gonna be moving when you're sitting down? Yeah. You know, so
actually, you'd be surprised. I've had some clients.
Really?
They think like they be chilling. They be like,
yeah. You know what? So I think at least I noticed that on the last episode, because he wasn't gonna use it. The headphones.
Yeah.
And he was moving a lot. But when he put on the headphones, he would catch himself moving too far back that he would go back to the mic because he was listening in, right? But yeah, at least when I have the DJI, I have it with enough space from the top and the sides that if they move along, that you can still see them and all that. Yeah, so the DJI, that's all I use. I mean, I wish I could have all this equipment that you have, but like I said, I'm using what I have right now and it's working.
Yeah, that's fucking beautiful, man. And trust me, like, all this isn't even like, it's a lot in terms of just like quantity, but in terms of like quality, like these things themselves, like I think what that camera up there is like a $600 body.
Nice.
Like I'm not trying to like, kill the bank with these things I'm putting on. I just wanted to get like the essentials and see like how can I put together a multiple camera shoot. You get me? And like we get creative with the ways and inputs that we can do. Like how can I get the TV to be surfaced up there and links and things like that? We have communication teams, so she'll like tell me like, hey, like move your thing. Damn, maybe lose my train of thought.
You know what's crazy right now? That this is just kind of off topic, but I for sure wanted to say it right now that since we've been putting out just podcasts between me and my girl, it's crazy. We've seen a greater connection with the audience. Just like somebody has. I'm trying to find out who they are because recently they're like, oh, you know what, Angel, I was wondering what happened to you, and is he famous already? So I realized that he have a podcast now, so I'm rewatching everything, and this person's like literally watching every freaking episode and commenting what they thought about the podcast, and they're commenting things that happen like towards the end. So I'm like, they're watching the freaking
That's
content,
dope,
and even people that we released at Hot Topics episode of like the Barbie movie, the Sound of Freedom thing, and then obviously it reached. I think you mentioned something like that you reach at times a vague audience, right? That maybe it's not your core audience, but they were kind of like, well, I don't agree with what you guys said, and we were expecting that, right?
Yeah.
But then yet again, since we're building that relationship with other viewers, they're like, well, I think you should rewatch the podcast because what Angel and Cello said is blah. So like, oh shit, like
you got fucking soldiers out there, like, that's fucking dope.
So we saw that, I'm like, oh shit, that's dope, man, because. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty behind podcasts, because it's a long format that people get to watch and get to know you a little.
Yeah.
So I think just putting yourself out there and just being yourself. Eventually, not everybody's gonna like you, but there is gonna be people that vibe with you and are gonna want to support you.
And even if they don't like it, they're gonna engage.
Yeah.
You get me? And like, I think that's a sad thing about our society that we live in now. Is like people are 10 times more likely to leave a bad comment or engage with something if you just like tick them off a little bit. Like you can get something like 60% right and like they'll write a fucking bad review. But if you like, in order to get that good review, you have to hit something out of the park. Like it has to be like the best thing they've ever, seen or experienced. And it just sucks that like people respond to negativity so quickly. But that's like, how do you rework that? How do you gamify that? How do you play with the fact that people are more likely to just like write something bad? Like for me, that's how I did it with How to Copy and Steal. Like I know the words themselves, like when people initially see them, like they're like, oh, whoa, like what does that mean?
Right.
But when they actually sit down with it and they realize, wait, this is just another way of saying inspiration. Like it allows them to connect with that on a different level.
Definitely.
When we first started out the business, we were called Copy and Steal Studio. And I went through like a whole bunch of different programs and things, and like I decided to change it because like Copy and Steal is more of like a reflection of ourselves and how we think. And we winded up landing on the idea of like a live studio. We are a live studio, but we also make people feel live on camera. Like,
I like that.
So many ways you can.
I like that name. It's more I guess brand friendly. It's
approachable. You don't feel like you're going to work with me and I'm going to just copy and steal other people's shit.
Yeah, it makes sense. I actually like the name a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Shout out to Chris Doe. He helped us put that together.
Oh, really?
We did his business boot camp last year.
Nice.
And that was the first thing he said, what the fuck is copy and steal? What does that mean? To me. And I was just like, well, went into my whole spiel. Like, it's a quote from Pablo Picasso, good artist copy, great artist steal. But yeah, he was just like, that doesn't mean shit to me. And it just took too long for you to explain it to me. So let's focus on live.
That's dope. I like that name a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't want to hold you for too much longer, but I do want to ask you, like, is there something you think I should have asked you that I didn't?
Babe, you think we missed something that we haven't touched on as of right now? Something that maybe we're currently thinking of doing or anything?
And also take this moment to, like, push whatever you want. Like, you can look at the camera. Everybody go watch Nomas on YouTube. I mean, you can scan the QR code right down there if you want to point to. You could Vanna White it.
No, I think, I mean, if I think of something along the way right now, as I say this, then maybe I'll mention it. But as of right now, just if you guys do want to take a few minutes of your day just to watch any of the content that I'm putting out there, watch it with the sense that this person that's myself, that I literally started from scratch, not knowing any of this. I started this podcast with the same skill set as yourself. So use myself as an example to watch what you can be able to reach, even if you just take a few minutes out of your day to work on yourself and to work on your brand. And if I would really, really encourage the majority of people, if not all the people, to start a podcast. Why? Because I think you actually shared something similar to this, that you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to create a lot of good relationships, friendships, and just by putting yourself out there, you don't know what opportunities can come across you. So when you're watching my podcast, if you do watch some of my podcasts or my Reels, TikToks, watch it in a sense that this person created it without having no knowledge and skill set, and that if I can do it, you can do it too.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you on. My name is Chris. This was another episode of How to Copy and Steal. Again, I'll end off with this show is sponsored by a live studio. If you are interested in starting a show of your own, doing exactly what we did here, multiple camera angles, switching, showing graphics, even showing presentations, we are your live studio specialist. Go to bookalivestudio.com and book a discovery call. I look forward to hearing from you and making your dreams come true. And with that said, thank you so much, Angel, for joining me on this episode.
Thank you.
I definitely would love to have you on another episode. Maybe we can do it at your spot. And
that'd be dope, man. Yeah, for sure. I'll have you on. That way, as a matter of fact, I would love to have you just because it's just, you know what? I'm the type of person that somebody helps me out. I'm very, I like to help them out, but I take a lot of gratitude in. I know the people that are supporting me right now, that once I make it, because God willing, and I know that eventually everything's going to pop off, that I know who those people were that were supporting me from scratch, you know? So me being here as my first time being a guest, it means a lot. So thank you, brother. Thank you. And it's like, I always like to say, it's a greater risk not taking a risk.
Yeah. That's, woof. We'll end it there. That was fire. Oh.